one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Course in Miracles 365. I'm your host, Tomas Garza, and with me today is a very special guest. Joining me from Atlanta, Georgia, is Kim Venter. Kim is a second-year student of A Course in Miracles, and she's going to talk about her experience and how this course has transformed her life personally. And Kim, before I get into asking you about your experience here, I want to just say to everyone tuning in, thank you all, as always, for joining me on the live stream here and for all of your shares. I know that all of us here at Enlightened World Network really appreciate your comments, your showing up, the hearts, the likes, the shares. So thank you for sharing this out. So Kim, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
This is going to be fun. So guys, Kim and I had a conversation a few weeks back, and Kim has mentioned that she's been a course student for 2 years. So what I'd like to do on this live stream is highlight other people's experiences, because you just never know what's going to resonate with somebody or who is going to resonate with somebody, and whose message, whose delivery, at which time. And as the course says, once we answer the call, everyone that's supposed to work with us will begin automatically, without any effort on our part, to seek us out. So if you're seeking out Kim, we've got the comment thread open, and I'll be monitoring that. So Kim, all right, this is your second year. How did you find A Course in Miracles?
So for me, about 2 years ago, as you know, sometimes when you're on kind of your own spiritual journey, you know, there was a certain event that happened that maybe finally put you over the tipping point to, you know, trying to search for more meaning in life. And so I'm in my mid 50s, and I've had my share of different experiences that, you know, didn't pan out the way that I'd originally planned. And then I had kind of a heartbreak a couple years ago that sent me searching. And for me, it was interesting because I love the concept of the breadcrumbs, you know, and it kind of plays right along with, you know, if you seek, you'll find. It's like once you start kind of looking for answers, you find one piece of literature, you know, something to read and someone to follow, and then something else. And for me, my path started with listening to Brene Brown, then an Oprah Super Soul Sunday with Brene Brown, which led me to more Oprah Super Soul Sunday podcasts. And I just loved them. I started listening to them every time I got in the car instead of the radio. I'd put on a podcast, and that introduced me to a lot of different people. And one of them was Marianne Williamson, who is a, you know, teacher of the Course in Miracles. And so over time, she kept mentioning A Course in Miracles, and I wrote it down. And it still took probably 6 weeks for me to finally look into that book and to purchase it. And so that's kind of how I got started. And you know, for me, I was raised in a Christian church, a Presbyterian, you know, denomination, and I've always considered myself, you know, I've always had faith. I've always believed in Jesus, and but there are always kind of like missing links, you know, to my life and how it was developing. So what I remember when I first started looking into A Course in Miracles, and when I found out that it was channeled by Jesus, I even, like myself, I was like, you know, like, it kind of caught me off guard. Okay. But then I was like, interesting. You know, I want to test this out. So then I decided, it just seemed out, I don't know, it just kind of threw me off course slightly. But then I started reading it, and then it's really helped me understand the Bible more. I mean, it's really helped me in my faith walk. It's helped me see things differently. And anyways, but that's how I got started.
Yeah.
You know, like, yep.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, I love this. And what I love that really jumps out at me is that you bought the book and it was only 6 months before you opened it. I know a lot of people that have had it for almost a decade, and it's still sitting there on the shelf waiting for them to open it. So that's pretty good, just 6 months.
Yeah, and I was kind of I was looking, thinking back to that time, I was really looking for a daily practice. I mean, I was trying to establish some sort of routine that I would do every day. And an interesting part too is, in addition to, you know, the things that had kind of prompted me to start my own journey, Then I had another experience that more daily was a challenge through a company I was working for. So I began doing the study on my way to work every day, which would prepare me mentally to handle the situation that was difficult for me at work.
Okay.
And and then at lunch break, I would started finding out that on YouTube there were different people doing the course. So I'd listen in the morning to one, and I'd listen to another at lunch, and they were just so impactful. It helped me just start changing my mindset and looking at things differently.
Okay. Yeah. And this is one of the beauties to me of A Course in Miracles is it provides a daily practice. It gives you something every day and bite-sized, honestly, to do. Now, you mentioned that you have been raised in a Christian church and that this course has really helped you in your own walk, in your own faith. Would you say some more about how that's augmented and helped you in that arena?
Yeah, I think, well, the first is it's interesting. One of the first things that jumps out, because another thing I want to mention is at the time I was reading A Course in Miracles, I also had found out about Eckhart Tolle. And so I was reading The Power of Now. At the
Yeah.
same time, I was reading A Course in Miracles, and I was kind of comparing the messages. And you know, it was awesome how they were so similar. It was just two different approaches. Eckhart Tolle doesn't get as much into the Christian speak where A Course in Miracles does. But one of the biggest things that jumped out at that time was, considering myself or realizing that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience and not just a human running around. I mean, this sounds kind of silly, but when they would say the Holy Spirit's within you, I didn't know what that really meant. I was so in the world, and I just figured there's a little spark floating around in there somewhere. But the Course in Miracles helped me realize that I'm not even looking at it right. That I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. That was one key point. And then also that I am not my mind, and that I don't have to listen to the thoughts in my head. Just those, once I started paying attention to the thoughts in my head that the Course in Miracles helps us do, and realizing that it was true that like 95% of the thoughts in our head are just negative, mean, memories of things I did wrong. It's kind of myself beating myself up. Why did I make this choice? Why did I break up with my college boyfriend? I mean, just silly things
Right.
that don't mean anything
Hmm.
anymore. So that was a main first step. Like, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. That just made so much more sense to me. The fact that we come into this world all eager and excited to have a human experience, and then we get all caught up, and we go through hard times and what we consider hard times, and we go through fun times. But that if you look at it in A Course in Miracles framework, you stop thinking of things necessarily as hard times and fun times. It's like everything's a learning experience.
Yeah.
You can gain insight from everything. Often the things that are challenging are the ones where you really dig in and need God and need Jesus, and you want their guidance. So I think for me, related to my upbringing in church, it just made things make more sense. In the Bible, it talks about us being spirits, but no one ever really focuses on that in church services.
No.
I mean, at least that I
Yeah.
understood.
Me neither.
And I love how in the Course in Miracles, several times Jesus he'll bring up scripture that's in the Bible and explain where it got a little off course or what the meaning really was meant to be. And that means a lot to me because it makes sense. It's when I read that and he's kind of saying, when, turn the other cheek, when I think of turn the other cheek, I always thought of it as someone just, like someone slapping you and you're turning the other cheek. I never really understood the exact meaning. And then when, when he just kind of clarifies meanings for scripture like that, it just means the world, because you're like, oh,
Mhm.
that's what that means,
Yes.
and forgiveness and the power of forgiveness. And sometimes if I'm having a confusing day and I think of the mantra from A Course in Miracles, for my function, forgiveness is my function.
Hmm.
It's like if I just go back to that simple thought, forgiveness is my function, I can stop thinking about all the other things going on around me and just go, Kim, just be loving and forgiving in every interaction that you have now and in 5 minutes and in 10 minutes,
Hmm.
and just be forgiving. And then when thoughts come through your head that are negative about, something you did a long time ago or something that just happened, to you at work, or, it's like, just be forgiving. Like, don't even notice it. Overlook the error. See past it. See that your brother is innocent. Like all these mantras that they teach you. And this is a good example of in A Course in Miracles. There's so many daily mantras that kind of come into your mind. I can choose peace instead of this. I am
Yes.
not a victim of this world. I mean, I love it. I'm just the kind of person that has really like grabbed onto that material and I
Hmm.
use it in my daily experiences. Anytime I feel a little off center or I feel out of alignment where I'm letting something bother me, I'll just kind of look back at the book or I'll pull from my memory and just be like, come on, Kim, you know how to get out of this.
Hmm.
You know, think back to your mantras. So,
Yeah.
but my church, last thing I'll say, the church upbringing, I just I didn't have that meat to grab onto. It's like there was missing pieces or something. I don't know if
Mhm.
that
Well,
makes sense.
it makes total sense to me, and I can completely relate to that. And I know a number of people watching, whether it's live or on the replay, can relate to that exact same thing. And this is it's beautiful. It's neat that you talk about mantras and things that you can pull out and use that are practical. And it's a self-study curriculum, which I think is one of the beauties of this. In fact, it's the genius of A Course in
Yeah.
Miracles. We all go at our own pace. So, fast forward, you've been doing this for 2 years. How would you say you are a different person than the woman that began a couple years ago?
So I think when one of the mantras I just mentioned was I am not a victim of this world, and that not that I had I didn't really have an extensive victim mentality, but I would let external things that were happening affect me. And so this doing A Course in Miracles has taught me that every time it, it's first of all like it's taught me I mean I'm still trying to get there, like not everything makes complete sense all the time, and in the second year there's things in the first year I thought I saw one way, and now in the second year I'm going, oh, now I see it a different way. And so that's really neat. But it's like knowing that we are truly loved and we're perfect in God's eyes as a spirit was important, and that even though we make mistakes, like we would consider mistakes in this world, we're not judged for that. I mean, that's really huge, because you start to forgive yourself for like the things that you perceive that you did wrong, and you forgive other people easier. Once you're nicer to yourself, you're nicer to them. So that was one key thing. And then also now when I approach my day, when whenever something happens that is any kind of challenge, if it's not complete peace, for with work or my children or
Yeah.
my boyfriend or my family, my dad, when something comes up, I'm getting better. I'm not perfect, and by any means, and it's going to take time, but I'm better at stopping and pausing and not reacting, and then using the lessons I've learned towards it. So let's say my dad, for example, is difficult, can be, hopefully he'll never watch this, but let's say he was being difficult,
In
and
case
I'm
he
on my
does.
way to, and I'm on my way to see
Right.
him in the car. I'll be praying and I'll be thinking about A Course in Miracles, and I'll be, thinking of the things like, he is innocent, you know, he's on his own journey, stay in your own lane. He's trying to figure out his own stuff. God's got this, and he's equal to me. I am no more special than he is, and all that I'm being asked to do is love him. And so I set that in motion, and then I've noticed that I mean, I can't even tell you, like, there's a huge drastic change in our relationship by me almost prepping the way, and having that kind of mindset. We don't have the kind of, I don't let him get to me like he might have before by his comments. And so that's
Right.
one example of a family dynamic that a lot of people might have.
Hmm.
um, and then just anything in life, like if let's say any challenge where that with something I've just learned, it's like it's all going to be okay. I can choose peace instead of this. I don't have to listen to what my ego mind is saying. If it's saying, oh, you should be really upset, oh, that person really hurt you, I don't listen to that anymore. I mean, it still might come through my mind, but I'm much better at, like, the concept of let it float through like a cloud,
Hmm.
and don't touch it, don't
Right.
poke at it, just let it go by, and just think
Yeah.
through, like, that, find the love, find the compassion and understanding in the situation. Give it time, let Jesus have time to work on it. The answer is already coming. We don't have to react.
Yeah.
So in that, I think in that way, and that's a daily moment to moment practice and change.
Hmm.
But to me, it's fun. Like I love the thought of the happy dream. It's like
Hmm.
life doesn't have to beat us up. We can look at everything in a different way, and enjoy it. And it becomes kind of a challenge. Like, to me, it becomes, come on, it's almost like, all right, bring it on. What's next?
No.
Okay, what's next?
Yeah.
What's next?
Hmm.
And because if you look at it that way, you don't, I mean, sometimes I'll get taken down a road and then I'll realize I'm there and it's like, okay, wait, about, you can get out of this, rat hole. Um, but to me, that's how it just starts kind of infiltrate, it becomes part of your normal personality and part of like your normal
Right.
way of
Hmm.
handling stuff. So
Yeah. Well, and
is that,
that's it's genius. That's part of the design of the course. And there are a number of people that are joining us here live. So Cindy is joining us, Lisa, Suzanne, Isabel. Thank you all for tuning in here. And Cindy says, yes, forgiveness is so much easier than holding on to grievances. And yeah,
it is, and to that point too, like I love the mantra, in my defenselessness, my safety lies,
yes.
because that is powerful. I mean, that is powerful to try to put yourself in a position where if someone is coming at you that you perceive as an attack, that if you can remember that and say, don't be defensive, don't attack back, because attack is the same as defensive in A Course in Miracles. So don't attack back, just allow them to do that. And it's been interesting the times I've remembered to do that, that how fast something diffuses and
Mhm.
how
Yeah.
yeah, it just doesn't escalate because you're not feeding into it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. So those are all really wonderful and powerful points. Now, Kim, you've gone on here in the 2 years that you've been a course student and working with this material to start a Facebook group of your own. So before we conclude today, how can people find out more about your group and what you're doing with the course? Because communities are such an integral part of this conversation.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I was so probably about halfway through the course, the whole concept of extending love and finding peace
Mhm.
became kind of a core message in my mind. And so I started, luckily it was available. I started a Facebook group called Extend Love, Find Peace. It's a
Oh,
public group. And so I'd love it. The more people that join, I love it. And there's several people who also post there that are Course in Miracles students. And so, and the whole message of the site is to post, positive messages of, focused on the Course in Miracle concepts. So usually, like for me personally, when I'm posting, in the morning, I spend my routine, I do my daily lesson. Sometimes I'm doing a few at a different time, and then I'll reflect on it, and then it'll come up. It'll be like, oh, I want to post about this concept, and so there's some of my own stuff there, and then again, there's some. I love when other people post too. So it's just started in November
okay.
of last year, this particular group. So anyone, I'd love you to join.
Yeah,
Yep.
beautiful. And the title again.
Share the life together. It's like a village. We help
Mhm.
keep each other on the same wavelength and frequency to like just be at
Yes.
peace. Yeah.
Yes, and for those, this is an important message for everybody who's out there practicing the course, because it seems like we're all doing this alone, but we're really not. And the very structure of A Course in Miracles lends itself to community groups and involvement. And just in case people are interested in looking at the Facebook group, which I'm a member of, and I highly recommend it because it's beautiful when people post positive, reinforcing, wonderful, loving thoughts. It's called Extend Love, Find Peace. A
Yes.
Facebook group. Yes. And Lisa, right, such a wonderful conversation. And thank you, Kim, for your honest words. This is why we're doing this, so people can see that there are lots of beautiful experiences out there. Well, Kim, this has been
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Yeah. Thank you very much. This was fun.
All right. It was fun. And this has been A Course in Miracles 365. This is Kim Venter, my special guest here. And again, check out her Facebook group, Extend Love, Find Peace. And we will see you again here tomorrow on A Course in Miracles 365 on Enlightened World Network. Everybody have a